What's up guys, welcome back again to your Heroclix headquarters. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the XMen swap out mechanic. I just wanted to talk about kind of how to use it, why it's so good, and why you should consider using it in your future competitive games, or at least know what it does when you go against something like that. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so to start off with, how exactly do you use the XMen's swap out mechanic? Well, that's going to be with this uncommon Professor X right here from the X-Men Rise and Fall set. And we'll take a look at his card here. So the first trait doesn't really matter. What we're here for is this one. At the beginning of the game, you may replace up to 5 friendly characters with the same number of characters from your sideline on their starting clicks. All replacement and replaced characters must have the X-Men, Shi'ar, or Illuminati keywords and different names. The total points of the replacement characters can't exceed the total points of the replaced characters. So that's a lot of words, but basically what that means is at the beginning of the game, you can choose up to 5 friendly characters on your team and swap them out with up to 5 of your sideline characters, so long as they all have the X-Men, Illuminati, or Shi'ar keywords and different names. So to put it simply, if I was to have like this 50-point Wolverine here, and I ended up winning map, and I played on this map here, which is the Otherworld map, which is really good for the super rare Jubilee from House of X. Then I might want to play her instead, so I could just simply swap out this 50-point Wolverine for this 50-point Jubilee at the beginning of the game. And that's just a quick, easy one-for-one swap. They're both the same points, so no headaches there. But what makes this mechanic really good is swapping out several figures on your team with essentially a totally new team. You'll kind of want to have like 2 or 3 separate teams pre-built kind of on your sideline. You want to go in knowing exactly what you're going to swap out at the beginning, so that you know how many characters and how many points you're working with to bring into the game. Just to make it a little bit easier on you. Not that that's easy to do, because that kind of requires you building several teams or several parts of teams, but in the long run it'll make it easier, I promise. And now to maximize on this, you really want to play characters that give you something during force construction or at the beginning of the game that kind of add to your team sort of for free, that you can then swap those characters out after you've gained that effect from them, and you can bring in the characters that you actually want to use to play with. And the best example of that is actually going to be Cable from the Dark Phoenix Saga set, the X-Men animated Dark Phoenix set, because he can bring in 2 more Cables during force construction. So we'll take a look at his card here to understand that. For an extra 25 points during force construction, you may add up to 2 of this same Cable on your starting force on the click number 1 that appears after the orange KO. They have a 0-point value for all effects, including scoring, but you don't have to reveal any Cable's point value until necessary. And they also start out with the same movement and attack power that he does, which is sidestep and phase teleport, and then once per turn for all characters with this power, telekinesis as free. So basically what you're getting is 2 of these guys. You got 2 clicks of 17 invuln, and they've got 11 attack, 3 damage with a 7 range, some sidestep, phase teleport, and between the 2 of them, one can use TK each turn. So, that gives you a lot of versatility with these guys. They can be range attackers, they can be TKing stuff around, they can just heal people with X-Men team ability because there's 0 points. You don't really have to worry about if they get KO'd because your opponent isn't going to score any points off of them. And the plus 25 points, now this is important to remember, the additional traits like this, they don't actually add to the point value of the character. You're just kind of paying the points to add that effect to your team, but he is still technically considered to be 75 points, not 100 points. So if you were to swap him out, you're going to get a 75 points worth of characters essentially to bring into your team, not 100, which is just important to clarify, because it's easy to think that you'd be getting a 100-point character, but he technically only counts as 75. The 25 points is still like in your build, but it kind of just floats magically in the air somewhere. It's basically unscorable is the cool thing though, because even if they KO these Cables, then your opponent still isn't going to get any points for it. Now if they wipe your whole team, then they will get those 25 points, so they'll get the full 300 or whatever your team is. But if they don't wipe your whole team, those 25 points are basically unscorable because they're tied to this cable who's on the sideline. So I know that's kind of confusing, but it's a really good effect to have, and he's definitely the main one people are using with, you know, the X-Men swap outs, at least the main one that I've seen, and definitely the main one that I've been wanting to use. And specifically for that reason, you're getting two good attackers that can free TK stuff for basically nothing. Even if you're thinking it takes 25 points to add them to your team, you know, I'd easily pay 25 points for everything that they can do. But then moving on, the next one that's really good to use with this type of a strategy with swapping out is the super rare Kate Pryde from the House of X set. Because she also has this at the beginning of the game effect, you can generate a Lockheed bystander. So that's right here. He gives you a little sidestep, energy explosion, energy shield deflection, and some perplex. So just adding a free little perplex character to the team is great. And the fact that he's got 17 defense with energy shield deflection and tiny size gives him a 20 defense from range, meaning your opponent's going to have a really hard time hitting him if they're going to try to go after him, unless they just straight up charge on him or something to get rid of him. And even then, you know, they're wasting an action to get rid of a 0-point pog, so still pretty good for you. So she can generate that adjacent to her at the beginning of the game. You get a free perplex. So one thing that's important to note here is the order of effects of all these beginning of game effects triggering at the same time. It's really important for who is the first player, who won the map roll, to go first and to pick map, because that's going to be the active player and they're going to decide the basically order of resolutions for all the beginning of game effects. So if you were to go second, if you lost the roll to go first and you're going second and you have her on your team, essentially your opponent could choose that you have to resolve Professor X's beginning of game effect first, which means that if you wanted to swap her out for something, you would not get Lockheed. Her effect would still trigger at the beginning of the game, but if you swapped her out, she's no longer on the map, so she can't generate him adjacent. So it's really good to know that. Just also, if you're, you know, playing against a team like this, you know, Kate Pryde is one of the best ones to start the game with, simply for the free Lockheed bystander. So if you win the roll to go first, just keep that in mind. You can essentially choose the order of your opponent's beginning of game effects, and you can make sure that you make them swap out first before she gets to generate her bystander. That's kind of a neat little counterplay you can do. But regardless, it's still worth playing her just for the free perplex. And another one that I like to start out with is the new Dazzler from Empire. She's also just an uncommon, so she's pretty easy to get a hold of. And the reason I like using her is because she also has a trait that says during force construction, you can choose up to 2 friendly characters that share a keyword with Dazzler and choose either shield or X-Men team ability. Chosen characters can use the chosen ability this game. So the cool thing about that is this is during force construction, so long before the beginning of the game even starts, basically, you're already picking 2 characters to give shield team ability to. So in this case, I'd probably just give it to the 2 cable holograms, because that's just easy to remember, them both having shield team ability. You're not going to be swapping them out for anything, so you don't have to worry about, oh, if I swap them out, I'm going to lose the shield team ability or anything like that. So I like to play her when I'm using the cables, just to give them shield team ability. Gives them a little bit extra to do. You know, it just adds that much more utility to the cables, who are 0 points already. And, you know, she's not bad herself. If you wanted to keep her on the team, she also has shield and enhancement, so she can up your range damage. But I usually like to swap her out for something after she's done her job. So for me personally, this is kind of the start to a team that I've been working on. I'll probably do a team build about it in the near future, but after I've play tested it a few more times and worked out a few kinks from it. But this is pretty much a good start to like a swap out team, because you're getting so much extra, and then you can pretty much just swap out, you know, the 75-point Cable, the 65-point Kate Pryde, the 35-point Dazzler, and the 25-point Professor X. And the thing I like about that is it's easy math. It's 4 characters, and they total 200 points altogether. So it makes it a lot easier math for when you're trying to figure out what you want to swap into the team. So to give you guys some ideas about what's good to swap into a X-Men swap team, because there's a lot of good ones right now, but I'd say one of the main ones is, first of all, if you win map with an X-Men team, you're always going to want to have the super rare Jubilee on your sideline from House of X. And I'd swap to her simply because she becomes such a great range attacker when she's played specifically on this map. So the reason for that is because of this damage power that says free once per game for all friendly characters with this power. If it's your 5th turn or later, or the map's name includes Otherworld, turn Jubilee to click number 7. And that's where she picks up all these special powers with the running shot, flight, giant size, and protected outwit and pulse wave, and the modify range +3 penetrating blast, and free remove all non-debris terrain markers within range from the map, which is crazy because she can just take a free action to remove all of your opponent's barrier markers within her range or smoke cloud markers. And she's also got traded mystics for range attacks and protected mystics, which is nice. And when you do that free action to swap to her, you know, she's pretty insane. 11 with that running shot, 11 with penetrating blast, 18 invincible, and 4 damage with shape change. So she's protected outwit. She's got willpower on a 3 through 6 from being giant size as well. And, you know, being able to see over everything from being giant size is great too. +3 to the range gives her an 8 range double target. So she's just honestly a beast for 50 points. And well worth playing if you're on this map. If you don't win map and you don't get on this map, you know, probably don't play her because she's going to be on her normal sidestep energy explosion clicks there, and that's not really as good. But that's really the big thing. A few other ones that I personally like to switch to myself are the Prime Bishop from House of X, just a common Prime, and he's done great for me every time I've swapped to him. I end up switching to him like half the time because of his trait here that gives him phase teleport, and once per game when he uses it after resolutions you can generate a shard bystander. But also when he attacks somebody with the past or future keywords or that can use prob control, he gets +2 attack and +1 damage. Makes him actually a really good ranged attacker for specific targets, and energy shield toughness is, you know, good defense power. Plus he brings some outwit to the team, which is nice. But the main reason is for that shard bystander. For one thing, you get another bystander that can be making attacks and, you know, 0 points if they go out of their way to kill her. But she's really good because opposing characters can only attack characters within 5 squares of themselves. So even if your opponent has one of those crazy like 9 range attackers, or somebody that can like shoot through all kinds of elevation and characters and stuff, it doesn't matter because they can only shoot 5 squares. It really brings down their range, and it's honestly just a really good effect to have in my opinion, just in case you're going against something like that. Another really popular switch is Exodus from the Rise and Fall set as well. Just a rare, but this one's really good. And the main reason people like him so much is because of his traded mind control. And when he uses it after resolutions, hit character is dealt his damage value. And the reason that's cool, for one, it's like 4 damage, which is pretty crazy. But that's not damage from an attack, so it can kind of get around, you know, stop clicks, essentially. Stop clicks actually only stop if it's damage from an attack. So to mind control somebody, make them hit their own team, and then deal them 4 damage that can blow past stop clicks is really good effect to have. He's a whopping 95 points though. So for me, I like to do something similar to get by stop clicks, but I like to play Karima for my sideline. I've used her a few times now. She's done great for me. She does basically the same thing. She helps you get by stop clicks. You can see here when she hit targets can't use stop this turn, and you can choose a standard attack power. She can use that power until you choose again. She's got traded energy shield deflection. She can see through elevated hindering and characters, which is insane. 11 attack, 3 damage, some precision, you know, running shot, 7 range is great. I just really like her. She's a great range attacker. She can pick a power after she hits something, and the fact that she shuts off stop clicks for the whole turn, in my opinion, is better than Exodus, especially because she's 20 points cheaper. Just because, you know, you could have somebody else on your team follow up, and, you know, that character still couldn't use a stop click. So it's pretty great to get by all those annoying stop click characters. You got a couple of good options there. But one of the other best characters to swap into is the new Shield Wolverine from Avengers Fantastic Four Empire. This guy's pretty awesome. I mean, even if you just start the game with him on your team, he's going to be good. But I think he's even better if you bring him in. And that's because of his trait here, that at the beginning of the game, choose an opposing character as Wolverine's mark. Whenever that character moves after resolutions, you may move Wolverine up to 2 squares.
If Wolverine's mark is KO'd, choose a different opposing character to be the new mark. And then his other trait, that Wolverine can't be targeted until he has made an attack this game or is adjacent to his mark. And, you know, he can also use regeneration as free every time he hits with an attack, which is crazy. But the main reason I like him so much is simply because, I mean, great stats too. But if you actually bring him into the game with the swap mechanic, that means he will miss the beginning of game trigger effect here to choose a mark. So he actually won't be able to choose a mark in the first place, which basically means until he makes an attack this game, he's untargetable, because there's no way, he has no mark to be adjacent to for your opponent to be able to target him. So you can just move him up freely until such time that you choose to make an attack. And for me, if I'm basically win map, I go for her. If I don't win map, I go for him, because they're both 50 points, and the way that I have my team set up currently, I need like a 50-point character. So those are my options pretty much. If I win map, Jubilee. If I don't win map, Wolverine, and we're good. Those are both great characters either way. So I hope that gives you guys some type of insight as to what makes this whole mechanic tick, like what kind of characters you want to start out with are the kind of characters that really give your team something to start with during force construction or at the beginning of the game, and then you're going to want to swap them out and go into some better characters that's going to really help your team. You know, if they got a lot of range attackers, Bishop might be good. If you win map, Jubilee is great. Things like that. And there's a million options. You know, like I said, if they got a lot of stop clicks, Karima or Exodus are good options. But the thing about it is that X-Men just have so many options. Like, we've had so many X-Men sets, and we just got word that we're getting another one after the Disney Plus set that's going to be X of Swords. So that's going to be pretty cool, and it's going to give even more options to this. But yeah, there's already so many options. You're really only limited by your space on your sideline. If you didn't already know, you can only play 3 characters per 100 points of the build total. So in your standard 300-point game, that gives you 9 sideline spots. So those spots fill up rather quickly when you're building an X-Men swap team, because you just think, oh, I could use this guy for this situation, I could use this guy to combo with this for this situation, and then before you know it, you've got 10 things, and you're like, oh shoot, now I gotta take one off. At least that's what happened to me. So anyway, yeah, I hope that gives you guys some kind of insight as to why this is so great. I mean, this is just like a good starting point for a team. There's still extra points to add on for the rest of the team to build around, and you know, you can swap in whatever you need depending on the situation. Like I said, you got 9 sideline spots, and there's like a million options for good things to bring in. So I hope that just gives you some idea of why teams like this work so well, and they're just so good because they have basically unlimited options. I mean, you sit down, look at your opponent's team, and say, okay, I have the perfect team to counter that on my sideline, and then you just do that, and it helps you win games. Not to mention, you know, with the whole Cable bringing in them and going off the board, then there's kind of like point denial, because they can't score 25 points unless they kill your whole team. And, you know, you get like a free bystander, so you're getting all this free extra stuff. It's kind of like playing like a 350-point team, but they can only score like 275 unless they actually KO the whole team. So it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I hope I explained it well enough. If you guys have any other questions, if I didn't go over anything well enough for you, just leave it in the comments, and I'll try to help you out as best I can. But that's pretty much it.
Alright guys, so that's it for this one. I hope you found it helpful in some way. If you did, make sure you smash that like button. It does help me out a lot. Let me know in the comments all your thoughts and opinions about the whole swap out mechanic. Do you like it? Do you think it's a little too much and it should stop? Or do you want to see it continue? I would love to hear all your thoughts and opinions about it. Have you guys used it? What kind of teams and figures do you like to use with it? All that kind of cool stuff. But anyway, while you're here, don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. And if you'd like to help support the channel even more, you can check the links in the description for our Patreon, so you can see our name here in the credits, as well as some other awesome stuff, so check that out. And that's going to do it for this one, so thanks again so much for watching, and until next time, this has been Heroclix Headquarters, signing off.